Hey there, this lesson is for students that are absent for our first of two Desmos lessons on quadratics. So I'm going to take you through some of the skills. I'm going to click back and forth between the Desmos lesson and the and Desmos itself. So we're going to go ahead and click preview on this. So we're going to look at a student preview so that you can see what hopefully we'll be looking at in class, maybe. Okay, so here we go. So the first one is graph the function below, and I'm actually going to need something to write with here. Okay, I can do this. All right, graph the function below and highlight the vertex, y-intercept, and x-intercepts by clicking on the points. Take a screenshot and paste it into the comments below. And so we've got f of x equals negative x squared plus 6x minus 5. And we've actually done this a ton in class. So this should be easy peasy. We've got negative x squared plus 6x minus 5. Now, something that I noticed that students were making errors on in the first one is highlighting incorrectly. So I want to make sure we're really, really clear about what we mean by highlighting. And so by highlighting, I mean click on the points and show me that you can tell me like where those points are. And so you're going to take a screenshot of this. You can do that with the snipping tool. And then it's always safe to snip the whole thing. So in your snip, if you've got the equation or function that you graphed and the graph, unless it says otherwise, or unless like you're not being evaluated on the graph, in which case you don't need to show me the graph, be wary of like screenshotting multiple pieces of things at once. Okay, that can sometimes be problematic. Now, the easiest way for you guys to submit this is to click the little copy button right there and then go back on over to Desmos, and you can upload a file response. Okay, but what I recommend is that you click on the little comments and just hit Control V, and it'll post it in the comments. Now, if you do that, when you go to submit it, it's going to flag and say you have unanswered questions. And that's because you didn't, I put this in as an upload file response. But if you do it that way, you're going to have to like save your screenshot, which you obviously can do. And like now you're looking at like my files there. But, and it just ends up being like a ton of photos that you have to save, and then remember what you saved them under. So that's definitely the easiest way to do it. Just when it gives you that warning, just maybe go back and make sure that you have something in the comments. I can see either one of them easily. So on my end for grading, it's not like easier or harder, whichever way you want to do it. But okay. Now, this next question is going to ask you to interpret or know the vocab. So we're going to read the whole directions here. So it says the vertex of the parabola is blank. The y-intercept is at y equals blank. The x-intercepts are at x equals blank and x equals blank. For the first blank, respond with an ordered pair, and for the remaining blanks, respond with just a number. So going back over here, the vertex is at the point 3, 4. So when I go to enter it, we're going to enter it in as 3, 4 like that. And I think I have it so that you can put a space there if you want. A space in there if you want. If there's issues with it, I'll probably catch them when we do this in class. And then for the others, we're just going to type a numeric value. So the y-intercept is at -5, and the x-intercepts are at 1 and 5. So we're going to type in -5. And this is set so that you can type them in either order. So you can type in x equals 1 and x equals 5, or you can do x equals 5 and x equals 1. So when I set that for either or. Okay. And so that's making sure that you not like it's not just you can highlight what they are, but you know which point is which, you know the vocabulary and the names for them. All right, for the next one is about evaluating. And so this is lovely. We've got some lovely, yeah, we've got a lovely function there. Now, this, like a lot of people got wrong doing the screenshots. Now, most of you got it right, but enough people got it wrong that like we want to make sure we fix it. So we're going to take that function and put that into Desmos. And you've got to do this as an f of x, okay? Because you've got to set it so that it will allow you to plug a number in. If you use y equals, it's not going to recognize. So plus 1/2. And of course, you want to practice doing the fractions. The fraction bar is found underneath your question mark. On my keyboard, it's just to the left of the shift key on the right-hand side. So it's above my control, but the keyboards aren't all like perfectly laid out the same way, like the letters and symbols are. It's probably in the same spot. But all right, once you've got that, okay, if you want to evaluate that for x is equal to 0.25, you just plug in a 0.25 for the x, and then it's going to give you that number. If you see, it's a little bit cut off on the screencast, but right where my mouse is hovering to the left of the f of 2.25, there's a fraction thing there, so you could convert that over to a fraction. Either one is fine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and screenshot it. Now for this, we're not graphing it. So for your screenshot for that, you can just screenshot that. Like what I want to see that you know how to do is that you know how to evaluate it. And you can give it to me as a fraction or as a decimal. Either will be fine. We're going to copy that and then come over to Desmos and paste that in the box like so, and then you hit send and I will be able to see it. All right, so again, that's like showing me that you can use Desmos to evaluate functions. Now, this one, it's going to ask you to do something really specific. So we are going to graph f of x equals 2x squared minus 16x plus 22. So it says graph the function below in Desmos. Use Desmos to highlight. So you're not going to be highlighting in the snipping tool. You're going to use Desmos to do the highlighting. And we want increasing to be done in green and decreasing to be done in blue, which means if the automatic highlighting that you get is not those colors, you are going to need to change those colors over. So let's go over to Desmos and work on that. So I'll start by typing. Now for this, you can go ahead and use the y. All right, so we have 2x squared minus 16x plus 22, and I can tell that where it changes over, so we're going decreasing, 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 and then right here at the vertex, it changes over to increasing. So we're going to use that, what is that? That is the x coordinate there, right? The x coordinate. And we'll have x is less than 4 and then x is greater than 4. Now I've got blue and green. Mine actually highlighted correctly. So that's fun. So the decreasing was supposed to be in blue and it is in blue, and my increasing is in green. So before I take the screenshot of this, some of you are probably following along and you're like, well, wait a minute, like that is not what I was supposed to get, right? So if you need to change the color of the highlighting, what you're going to do is click in the window where it's highlighted, right? And then click that little gear. Okay, so I'll click done so I can do it again. All right, so we've got that. We click in there and then this little gear appears. And then what you can do way over here on the left is you can click on the color there and you can change the colors. So just for funsies, you know, we'll just say yours ended up in orange and red and you're like, oh, great. Okay, so you would click on that gear. So click into either one of your inequalities, click on that gear. These circles appear on the left-hand side and it says, okay, decreasing needs to be in blue and increasing, whoops, I turned it off instead. I need to go click on my gear. There we go. And increasing needs to be in green. And then you would go ahead and take your screenshot And what you should do is something like that, okay? Because I'm going to look for the inequalities and the shading to be done correctly, all right? So we would copy that and then come back over to Desmos and we go to the comments and we paste it in and we're done. Now, you might be tempted to just pull my screenshot, like take a screenshot of what I did instead of going over to Desmos. But on your test for this, it is going to ask you to do something similar. It's going to ask you to graph it and potentially change the colors. So please do not be taking that shortcut. I know it's tempting to take a shortcut. Shortcuts do not pay off in the long run, okay? So, hi, come on in. All right. Now, based off your graph from number 4, categorize each interval as increasing, decreasing, or neither, okay? So my decreasing interval was x is less than 4, and my increasing interval was x is greater than 4. And in this, okay, we've got a whole bunch of things that we can drag. Now, first off, I'm going to look at the stuff that I can say is neither. Increasing and decreasing is always done with x's. So I'm going to take anything with a y and I'm going to come over here and drag it over to neither, because neither, like we don't do increasing or decreasing with y's. Okay. So anything with a y, just that's neither. Okay, so we're going to get rid of those. Now, my increasing, decreasing also was hinging on the 4, not on the negative 10. The negative 10 there is actually the range. Okay, and that leaves me with these ones. Now, the inequality notation we can get directly from Desmos. So we know that x is greater than 4, that was my increasing, and x is less than 4 is a decreasing. And then we have to get the interval notation. Well, 4 to infinity, that means bigger than 4, that's greater than. So we drag that to increasing, and negative infinity to 4, that's your smaller ones, that's your decreasing. Okay, and once you've got them all categorized, now then you're done. Again, on your test for this, it's going to ask you to do something similar. Okay, so notice, hopefully you're watching the video with the sound up, but you're getting the explanation and won't get confused with positives and negatives and so forth. Okay, question 6. Enter the table below and perform a quadratic regression and paste a screenshot of your table and your regression. So what I'm doing right now on a little index card is I'm copying the points over. All right, and then I'm going to click on over to Desmos. And we'll clear that up. Now, to do a table, you click on the plus sign. So if you can't see, I'm in the towards the upper left side of your screen. Okay, so we click add item, and we're going to pick table. And then note the X1, Y1. If you've got more than one table, then you will have like an X2, Y2 would indicate like the next table. And so I'm going to go type that in. So -2, -6, -1, -1. 0, 6, 1, 15, and 2, 26. Now, if you can't see all the points, there's a little magnifying glass right here. You can probably see where zoom fit. I'm kind of hovering over it and then taking it away, zoom fit. If you click on that, it's going to change your window so that you can see all the points. And then up here, kind of cut off, is the little regression. We did this for lines. We're going to click add regression. And it's going to automatically default to a linear regression. And you can tell it's an announcement coming. So we'll...
Alasia Simmons, if you are on campus, please come to the main office. Alasia Simmons, if you are on campus, please come to the main office.
Okay, and we can take a look at that regression. It's actually not a bad regression for the points that we have. Our R-squared value is 0.97, so it's honestly not too bad, but we're not going to do a linear regression. We're going to do a quadratic regression. So to do that, we click in the drop down, and off of the drop down, we're going to pick quadratic regression, and you can see that the quadratic regression, actually R-squared is equal to 1. What that means is that it is a perfect regression. It means that all of those points are on the equation. That's what it means when r squared is equal to 1. And again, that closer that r squared is to 1, it means the closer your points are. In your screenshot, you are going to want to capture the table, the regression, and the graph. Okay, so we want to follow the directions for what we are supposed to. Paste a screenshot showing the table and the regression. I guess you didn't need the graph, but it's okay to capture it. Like, it's not going to be wrong to capture it. Okay, for the next one, it says, in the next line down, perform a quadratic regression in vertex form. Post a screenshot of the new regression. So this is something a little bit different. This is your automatic regression that we have going on here, where it's showing us it in standard form. And some of you were doing your linear regressions this way as well. So you can actually, it's the other way to do it. So vertex form, if you remember, is y equals a, and then x minus h all squared, and then plus k. That's what it is to be in vertex form. Now, you'll notice that it's like not doing anything. In fact, it's kind of cut off here, but I've got this exclamation point. It's like, that is not what, it doesn't know what we want. Here's the problem. It doesn't know that we wanted to do a regression. So there are two changes that we need to make to tell it to do a regression. The first is, if we come up here to the table, you'll see that it's x1 and y1. So the first thing we need to do is tell Desmos to reference the table. And the way we do that is by putting a subscript of 1 on both the y and the x. And the way you do that is you just click next to it and type a 1. It's going to automatically do a subscript. So if you just I'll do it right here. If you just type an x and then a 1, it will automatically do a subscript. So just click next to the 1, the y, and the x. The other thing you need to do is, instead of an equal sign, you're going to type a tilde. So that is next to your 1, okay? And you're going to hit shift and then hit the tilde. So it's going to be to the left of your 1. So I'm going to delete my equal sign, and then I'm going to hit shift and then the key next to my 1. And that is the way to tell it to do a regression. So the next thing you're going to screenshot here is this right here, okay, showing the regression. And if you look closely at this, what it's doing is it's showing you the value for A, the value for H, and the value for K. All right. Now, before we do we can go ahead and we'll copy and we'll paste that in. Okay, so I'll come back over here and we'll do that. Okay. Okay. Now, here's the next part. Okay, so you're gonna have to do something. Now type your new regression in the space provided. So what on earth do we need to type? Okay, so I'm gonna grab the pen from here. Oh, bye, thank you. My room just got swept. All right, so what we're gonna do is actually plug in these values into the equation. So we're going to have y is equal to a is 1, okay, and then we'll have x minus h, h is -4, squared, plus k, k is -10. Now, I don't really like that. I'm not going to play games with minus a negative, okay? I'm not going to accept it minus a negative. Minus a negative is, whoops, I don't even know what I hit there. How do I? Okay, I'm not totally sure what I did. There we go. We're going to erase minus a negative. Minus a negative is just an awful way of saying plus. And I also don't need to have a 1 out in front. Okay, so we normally would not say, hey, my a value is 1. So you're going to go ahead and type that in for your equation, and you'll have to do something similar, okay, on your test. So we don't want to be ignoring how to do this. So that's what we're going to be typing in. So I'm going to click back on over here, and it's going to give me the option. I can type a y. I have it set for y or for f of x, okay, either or. So y equals, and then parentheses x plus 4. And then we're going to hit right here for the squared. Okay, I'll give you a moment to see on the screen where I'm right there for the squared. And then minus 10. And then we're done. Okay, so that's like our written response and how we type it in. Okay, and last important question. So a student stands on the courtyard stairs and tosses a gym bag full of feathers. Okay, I was just kind of out of ideas. All right, to a student on the ground. The trajectory of the bag is modeled by the function below. Match each value to what it corresponds in the problem. So what you've got to do is click and drag. Okay, so we have 13.94, 16, 15.2, 11, and 5. And then we need to match them. So one of those is the height from which the gym bag is thrown. One is the time it takes the gym bag to reach its highest height, the time it takes the gym bag to hit the ground, the gym bag's maximum height, and the height of the gym bag at 3 seconds. So let's go ahead and type that in. So we have negative 1/5 t squared plus 2t plus 11. So we'll delete the stuff that we got going on over here. So h of t is equal to negative 1/5 t squared plus 2t plus 11. Now you're looking at this, you're like, what is that? Remember that I did that zoom fit. So my y-axis is actually scaled, so it's going really high. So it's going up to 40, but my x-axis is only going between -4 and 4. So I'm going to hit the home key to get to my default, and I still don't like that, so I'm going to zoom. There we go. All right, now I've got some key points on here. All right, so I've got my y-intercept is at the point 0, 11. My vertex is at 5, 16. And I have an x-intercept over there at 3.944270. Let's go see if we can match some of those up. So remember the lesson on this. We've got t on the x-axis. So at time equals 0, the height of the gym bag is at 11 feet. That's literally what 0, 11 means. So it means when time is 0, the height is 11 feet. Then the gym bag is going to go up, 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 up. Okay, and it hits the highest height. And this is what the ordered pair means. When t is 5, the height is 16. Okay, that's what it means for the x-axis to be t and the y-axis to be height. So when x is 5 or t is 5, the height is 16. What that tells me is that the highest height is 16 and the time it takes to get there is 5 seconds. Now the gym bag is falling. Our x-axis or t-axis represents the ground. When time is 3.94 seconds, the height is 0. And that's how we know it hit the ground, because the height is 0. So let's go back over to our quiz and see if we can match this stuff up. So I think it lets me drag this. So let's see. 11 was the height from which the gym bag is thrown. That's my starting height. And remember, when you see the verbal description, it's not always going to be exactly the same thing. So it could be the starting height, the height from which the bag is thrown, the height of the bag when t is equal to 0. So there's a lot of ways that could be phrased. Next one down is the time it takes the gym bag to reach its highest height. Well, we established that was 5. Next one is the time it takes for the gym bag to hit the ground. That was the 13.94. The gym bag's maximum height was 16. Now, this last one is the height of the gym bag at 3 seconds, and it says that is 15.2. So I'm reasonably sure that has to be correct because we matched all the other ones up, but let's go double check that, and I can check that by doing h of 3. Okay, and that means I'm plugging in 3 for the time, so 3 seconds, and I'm getting a height of 15.2. So yeah, and I should be able to find that over here if I do like 15.2. Yeah, I can actually find that point. It is on the parabola. So when the time is 3 seconds, the height is 15.2. So I feel pretty good about that. 15.2 is the height of the gym bag at 3 seconds. Those are all the different things that you might be asked. Okay. Now for that last one, you wouldn't necessarily be asked like 3 seconds, but you could be asked like another time. Those are all the different questions you might be asked and how you would match them up. All right. Next one is a true-false question. The Desmos quiz for quadratics will be available after this lesson. Now, if you are on an A-day class, it's probably going to be available right after the lesson. If you are a B-day class, it's going to be available early, but it certainly will be available after the lesson. And I should work on the questions we covered in this lesson, but I should not submit it because we will cover the remaining questions. So that is a true statement. I am going to make it available for you. But here's the deal. Some of the stuff on that quiz we did not cover. So I've got a list sitting in front of me right now. Things that we covered graphing the parabola, identifying the key points, evaluating the function, how to highlight in the increasing and decreasing intervals in specific colors. We also covered how to state the intervals. Okay. We covered in this quadratic regressions, how to do a quadratic regression in vertex form, and how to match the numbers in a word problem. Stuff that now all of that is on your Desmos quiz. So what I would encourage you to do right after this lesson or shortly after this lesson, you could do it maybe on test day after we're done with the test, is go through and answer the questions for the stuff we covered. Stuff we did not cover is positive and negative intervals. We have not covered that, okay? And certainly have not covered how to highlight them. We have not covered how to solve the equation by graphing. Now, we did cover that with lines, so you might remember how to do it, and you are welcome to try it, but I would not like solidify that. What we definitely have not covered is how to match a graph to the type of solutions that it has. So that we definitely have not covered. Do not touch that question. All right. And we have not covered how to use the quadratic formula in Desmos using sliders. So you're not going to touch that question. Do not submit it because we will have another Desmos lesson where we will cover those remaining things. And after that, then I want you to go and do it. Okay, so you're not going to hit submit. So this basically covers what you need to know for this first lesson. All right, so there you go. Hopefully this helps. You should be good to submit Desmos lesson number 2, quadratics part 1. All right, and let me know if you have other questions.